Good afternoon, everyone. I am Hetu Suryanshi. I will now share the screen. Here, firstly, I want to thanks organizer for allowing me to present my paper in this conference. And I want to acknowledge my co-author SS Pimplikar, who is professor and a doctor as well. Uh, Now, as name suggests, knowledge, skill, ability, and experience. The idea pop up from KSA model by adding experience to it, and which is a enabler to leadership decision making. These are the contents of the presentations. Introduction, objectives and significance, research methodology, theoretical framework, case study, analysis, and conclusion. Now, leadership is a subset of complex system in that it is the ability to learn from experience and change an effective change that via interaction with followers and stakeholders. It is of course essential for embracing a new ways to making for making a new ways of thinking. Furthermore, leadership decision making is an substantial impact have a substantial impact on a leadership on a project success as well as on a workplace attitude. Then leadership competency elements are favorable and strongly correlate with the project performance. This was an introduction of what we will see in this paper. Objective of this paper is to how a decision makers impact a project performance on either a positive way or either a negative way. But it is to be considered that knowledge, skills, and abilities are important while making a decision. Significance from this is it will help industry to improve or to give a importance to knowledge, skill, ability, or considering it as a important to give to improve a project performance. Now, theoretical framework is knowledge, skills, abilities, and experience are also important aspects of leadership that influence the project performance. Where knowledge is a knowledge is a person's accumulation of information and experience, while skills are precise technical talents that allows a person to complete a task. Leadership is one of the result of experience, and it is formed through time and has a tremendous impact on success. While ability is a successful application of information and skills in a given situation. I have done a case study. It is a live case study on a project. The project is Tisai Residency. The whole project area, built-up area is 26,343 square meters. And height of number of story is 27, while flats in it are 378. Till now, plinth 100% plinth has been completed. The cost of project is 90 CR, while total estimated time as per RERA in India is 48 months. Now, this is the analysis of case study. What we have done in this paper is there were three extracts where here I have presented two. In first extract, the time delay is shown and how leadership delayed, how leadership the delay in taking decision impacts impacts time. So I will explain the first phase as the here excavator. The contractor who was has to give a excavator on the date 20. He didn't provided the same excavator till 7. So after 12 days, promoter take a decision to change the contractor for excavation. So the delay of 15 days was directly on the excavation side, but after calculating a total uh, till the plinth completion, after cumulatively more 15 days of delay was occurred by accumulation of delaying of activities, as many environmental changes like rain in India. Rain was a big impact on this project, who delayed the project by more 8 days. And secondly, in second phase, promoter was not having a knowledge, or we can say information of threading and couplers, which is a which is a technology used in a high rise building for replacing a threading a lapping work of steel, which tremendously saves huge quantity of steel with a cost. So we can see here by just a second. So we can see here by lapping, the cost of total that steel structure was total cost of steel was 1 crore 88 lakhs. While coupling, just doing a coupling, the cost was 1 lakh 20,000. But while in housing, while taking directly couplers from manufacturer and threading in house with skilled labors, it took just 75 lakhs of total steel work to be done on the project. So here about 1 crore 10 lakh was saved by taking this decision by promoter. And thirdly was delay. Thirdly was the decision of taking um, decision of taking uh, the height of road with the entry level. So that decision was taken so that many the promoter slab was reduced from it. So that also reduced total 90 lakh rupees of advantage while taking this decision before this. Now we will go for a conclusion. Time. There is a substantial association between knowledge, skills, and talent, experiencing and leadership decision making. This case study shows that in various situations, that tries assist leader in making wise decision. While that in their absence, it also gives a negative impact on project performance significantly. Thank you.
Everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. I am Parul Saxena. My co-author is my guide, Dr. B.S. Rathore, and he is not available, so I'll be giving the presentation. The topic for my research is perception of non-managerial employees of Indian real estate industry and sustainable development goals, an empirical study. So, the United Nations introduced 17 SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, year 2015, that stress the stakeholders' prominence and concentrate on transitional and cross-sectorial cooperation for sustainable development. Sustainable development is a development which is based on the future. That means we are looking after the future while working in today. Globally, the researchers are focusing on sustainable development transformation to resolve environmental and social and economic issues and simultaneously in different sectors. With regard to this, SDG are considered as main global approach so far to progress global sustainable development. My research is based on the real estate sector in India, as it is the third largest sector, developing sector in India. So this sector's growth is associated with enhancement in information technology, entertainment services, hospitality, economic services, and retail services. These are the 17 SDGs. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and community, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnerships for the goals. It was not possible to pick all the 17 goals, so I have chosen the 4 goals, which is no poverty, zero hunger, quality education, and gender equality. The purpose of my study was to assess the perception of non-managerial employees in the Indian real estate industry towards achieving the SDGs. It identifies the ways in which non-managerial employees can contribute to SDGs in Indian real estate sector. Further, this study identifies the role of sustainable management in real estate industry concerning the following SDGs, as I have mentioned above: no poverty, zero hunger, quality education, and gender equality. The methodology used was it focuses on a quantitative study through primary data collection, analysis through SPSS 23.0 package. I did a study on 121 non-managerial employees, and the employees were basically based out of Gurgaon, Jaipur, and Delhi region. They participated in the study, and thus we explored their perception about this sustainable management. The objective of my research were to explore the perception of non-managerial employees about the concept of sustainable management goals through an empirical study, to study the impact of SDGs like no poverty, zero hunger, quality education, gender equality in real estate industry, to study the positive, negative impact of the concept of sustainable management, to identify any initiatives that can be taken by organizations to shift towards sustainable management and involvement level of employees for the same. There were 4 research hypotheses. So the first one was that there is no significant impact of sustainable development goals like no poverty and zero hunger in real estate industry. Then the alternate was that there is a significant impact of the same. The second one was non-managerial employees' perception to show positive impact towards sustainable management in the real estate industry. The alternate was the non-managerial employees' perception to show positive impact towards sustainable management. The above is the conceptual framework, the diagrammatic representation of the conceptual framework for this paper. And this is the research model used for my research. Then there are dependent and independent variables in the study. Non-managerial employees were the independent variables, and the real estate industry, the sustainable management, were the dependent variables, the SDG goals, innovation, and change. I assessed it through the statistical analysis using the SPSS tool, and the data collection was done, collecting the data of 121 non-managerial employees. This was the demographic analysis. There were around 10.7% of respondents between the age gap of less than 25 years. 66% of the employees were between 25 to 35, 16% of the employees between 36 to 45, and 45 and 3% of the employees, 3% were 45 to 55 and rest above 55. There were 74% of the male respondents and 25% of the female respondents. 6.6% had less than 1 year of experience. Most of the people had the experience between 1 to 5 years. And 31% of the people had the experience between 5 to 10 years. Rest having experience of 10 to 15 and greater than that. I did the relatability analysis using the Cronbach alpha, which is a statistical method to use to assess the internal consistency and reliability of a scale or a set of related items in questionnaire or survey. These were the conclusions for my hypothesis. For the result of the hypothesis 1, it said that null hypothesis was rejected and the alternate hypothesis was accepted. Therefore, there was a significant impact of sustainable development goals like no poverty, zero hunger in the real estate industry. For the second hypothesis, again, the null hypothesis was rejected and the alternate was accepted, and concluding that there was a significant impact of sustainability development goals like quality education in real estate industry. For the third hypothesis, again, the alternate was accepted and concluding that there was a significant impact of the gender equality in the real estate industry. For the fourth hypothesis, the null hypothesis was accepted, hence stating that non-managerial employees' perceptions shows no positive impact towards sustainable management in the real estate industry. The limitation to this study, the limitation of this paper was that the sample size was just 121. It was just small scale study, and the region was also limited to Jaipur, Gurgaon, and Delhi. So if and it was just based on the real estate sector. So if the study can be done extensively in all the sectors of the economy, it would have been a better approach. So there are further scope for this study as well. The conclusion was that there is a significant impact of sustainability development goals like gender equality, no poverty, and zero hunger, and quality education on the real estate industry. The study shows higher internal consistency of scale obtained from reliability tests. This study and the framework developed will act as a strong base for further research on this subject and other sectors, as I mentioned above, as a limitation also, and also further scope for the study. In future, it is recommended to investigate other emerging sectors such as transport and trade services in both underdeveloped and developing nations. Thank you.
The presentation is regarding eigenvalue-based detection using double threshold, and also cooperative spectrum sensing technique is used for CRN networks. Now, here we will study the different spectrum sensing techniques, then the method which we adopt for spectrum sensing, and the simulation and the discussions. The conventional spectrum allocation techniques are used as a fixed spectrum allocation techniques, and which creates a problem of spectrum scarcity as spectrum is very much underutilized. So the term cognitive radio network that enables the spectrum to utilize efficiently by intelligently sensing the external environment and adapting its internal states accordingly. So here we have the two terms: secondary user, that is unlicensed user, and the primary user, which is a licensed user. So as spectrum sensing is a very fundamental component of cognitive radio networks, we have a different methods already available in the literature, that is the energy detection techniques, cyclostationary feature detection, match detection techniques, and covariance and eigenvalue based detection techniques. Now here we can see that energy detection techniques require prior knowledge of noise variance, and cyclostationary feature detection, it requires prior information of signal characteristics. Covariance and eigenvalue based detection does not require a prior information, as well as it can perform at low SNR value. So we choose the method covariance based and eigenvalue based detection method. So this is a system model. Under hypothesis H0, we have the noise only. Under hypothesis alternate, we have the noise and the signal. Now our target is to sense the signal, whether signal is present or not. If signal is absent, then second user can use that spectrum. If signal is present, then second user has to vacant that spectrum and find the other available vacant spectrum. So the energy based detection sensing, we have the probability of false alarm and probability of detection. Using the chi-square distribution, we can formulate these probability of false alarm for given value of threshold and number of samples, and the probability of detection as well. In eigenvalue based detection techniques, we will perform a covariance matrix, sample covariance matrix, that is nothing but the autocorrelation matrix of the received signal at the secondary user node. And under the case of the noise, as noise is randomly distributed IID signals, so all the distributions, non-diagonal distribution or non-diagonal elements of this covariance matrix will be 0. And if my signal is present, then non-diagonal element will not be a 0. Then we can detect the presence of the signal, and information will be provided to the second user that primary user is present, they have to wait. Now for a given number of probability of false alarm, we do consider 0.01, and That's how, using the RMT theory, we formulate the threshold value. Then in double threshold based detection techniques, the nearby threshold region and has the most probability of getting the wrong decision. So we created two different thresholds, and in a confusion region, we do resense the whole environment. That is the confusion region. And the computation of upper threshold and the computation of a lower threshold is formulated using random matrix theory. We did the mathematical analysis to derive these formulation. Let's say for upper threshold, we do consider the fixed value of probability of false alarm, and for smoothing factor L and number of samples NS, we do formulate upper threshold. And for the lower threshold, we do consider the probability of misdetection, that is a 0.1, and we formulate the upper threshold, lower threshold value, that is gamma f2. Now this is the algorithm for spectrum sensing of our proposed method, that is eigenvalue based double threshold detection techniques. And if the test statistics lies between the confusion region, then it will resense itself and more accurate decision will be occurred. Now in a cooperative scenario, number of nodes we create, let's say n number of nodes, then a majority of rule. If 5 nodes, then more than 3 nodes provides the information that p user present, then you will do calculation that primary user is present and the second user has to vacant that spectrum. So that's how that is a QF and QM is the probability of false alarm and a probability of misdetection at the fusion center. So this is a cooperative scenario. Now we will discuss the simulation and the discussion. Here we use the MATLAB simulator tool for the simulation purpose. And the number of samples has been taken as a 10,000, and smoothing factor is taken as the L is equals to 5, and number of sensing nodes are taken as a 5, and optimum number of second user for the majority rule and optimum is taken as a 3. So we have we did the simulations on the MATLAB, and this is the result. You can see that the probability of detection with respect to the SNR, it shows that the proposed method is more efficient and having the highest value of the probability of detection with comparison to this is the energy detection. Under the case of the noise uncertainty, and energy detection methods always deteriorates, and proposed method, that is eigenvalue based double threshold, is perform very well. And this is the probability of detection with respect to the number of samples. You can see that our proposed method perform very well. And the simulation and the discussion is our proposed method double threshold detection technique is more efficient than the single threshold and the energy detection methods. So it can be used for the CRN scenario for the next generation technology or the 6th generation technology. These are the few references we have referred. And thank you. Any query you may ask.
Everybody, today I'm going to talk about understanding intranasal drug deposition in adults and children for enhanced medication delivery and safety. Our work was done in collaboration with Dr. Mahbub Zarabi from Biotechnology Department, Dr. Mahbub Sharbatdar from Mechanical Engineering Department, Dr. Qamartaj Khanbabai from Mofid Children's Hospital, and Dr. Ahya Abdi from Microbiology Department. Let me have a brief introduction to our work. Nasal administration has proven versatile from addressing seasonal rhinitis to combating respiratory disease. The appeal lies in its efficacy with low doses and minimal systemic impact. Intranasal administration is considered a non-invasive administration route and easy to do for self-administration or for caregivers. It has a low potential for injuries or disease transmission like hepatitis B or HIV. Nasal anatomy of a child and adult has significant differences that can have a substantial impact on intranasal drug delivery. The most apparent distinction lies in the size and morphology of the nasal passage. Children have smaller nasal cavities, narrow nasal apertures, and shorter nasal passage compared to adults. This variation directly affects the surface area available for drug absorption in pediatric patients, potentially resulting in altered drug delivery kinetics and efficacy. Additionally, differences in mucosal thickness, permeability, and blood flow can influence the systemic absorption of intranasally administered drug. Pediatric nasal anatomy undergoes significant change as children grow, making age-dependent considerations crucial in designing intranasal drug formulations and delivery strategies. Our study aims for a detailed understanding of drug particle deposition in two distinct age groups. Computational fluid dynamics, or CFD, plays a pivotal role in the simulation and evaluation of intranasal drug delivery, offering a powerful tool to analyze and optimize the complex processes involved in this drug administration route. Our exploration of nasal dynamics commenced with meticulously reconstructions derived from high-resolution CT scan images capturing unique nuances in each cohort. Refer to Table 1 for a detailed representation of these nasal geometries. As we delve deeper into nasal characteristics, Table 2 reveals insight into volume and surface area, exposing intriguing differences between pediatric and adult cohorts. Variation in surface area, volume, and the critical surface-to-volume ratio provide a comprehensive view of anatomical distinctions, laying the groundwork for a more profound exploration of our findings. The incompressible Navier-Stokes and continuity equations solved for the evaluation of airflow in laminar and steady and laminar conditions. The Lagrangian discrete phase model, or DPM, incorporating drag, Brownian, and Safman's lift force employed to study particle trajectories and behaviors, where FB is Brownian force per unit mass, FL is Safman's lift force per unit, FT the drag force per unit mass, and REP is Reynolds number of particles. To accommodate the complex laminar transitional turbulent flow, the shear stress transport, or SST option with transitional flow treatment was implemented. The SST model seamlessly integrates the K omega model applied near the wall and the K epsilon turbulent model applied in the main flow domain, providing ideal for modeling flow in intricate geometries such as the nasal cavity. To quantitatively assess the flow field and particle deposition in the nasal cavity, the models were segmented into distinct sections along the main flow direction. These subregions comprise the vestibule, nasal valve, anterior turbinate, and nasopharynx. Computational grids were generated using an unstructured tetrahedral mesh to ensure precision in representation. The near wall region, 5 near wall prism layers were incorporated. The presented plots depict the grid independence analysis for both child and adult cases. A mesh consisting of 3.4 million cells was utilized for the 5-year-old case, while the adult case employed a mesh comprising 2.6 million cells. This plot illustrates the numerically predicted breathing resistance or pressure drop within the nasal airway of a 5-year-old as a function of inhalation flow rate, in vitro and in vivo measurement across various age groups. Notably, the pressure drop or breathing resistance tends to decrease with increasing age. Comparatively, infants and children exhibit significantly higher breathing resistance than adults at equivalent flow rates. As anticipated, the pressure drop data for the 5-year-old individual falls between that of infants 10 days old and adults. It's worth highlighting that our computational results show good agreement with the experimental evaluations conducted in previous studies. Given the rapid growth in height and weight during early childhood, including nasal airway, it's reasonable to observe the 5-year-old's pressure drop as an intermediate value between very young children and adults. The study designed for evaluating parameters including flow rates, injection velocity, and injection cone angle is depicted in this flowchart. The selection of injection velocity and cone angle was informed by the experimental evaluation of marketed nasal sprays conducted in previous studies. In the adult case, the right side was designated as the adult nasal passage right ANPR model, and the left side was identified as adult nasal passage left ANPL model. In the child case, the right side was denoted as the child nasal passage right CNPR model, and the left side was labeled as the child nasal passage left CNPL model. In this table, you will find detailed information about the simulations. The accompanying figures provide a visual representation of the percentage of particle deposition in vestibule and nasal bed, the interior turbinate, and escape particles entering the lung and lower respiratory system. Notably, the overall percentage of deposited particles in the vestibule and nasal valve region is higher in the child case compared to the adult case, surpassing deposition in the anterior turbinate region. Droplets deposited within the vestibule and nasal valve region poses the potential to accumulate and drain from the nostrils. The absence of cilia in the nasal mucosa of these regions allows particles that do not drip or rapidly absorb to persist, making them susceptible to mechanical removal through actions such as nose wiping or blowing. Conversely, particles eluding deposition and reaching the nasopharynx miss their intended targets, undergo swift clearance, and may induce an unpleasant taste upon deposition. Consequently, the intermediate region encompassing the interior turbinate emerged as a favorable site for both local and systemic nasal drug delivery. In our analysis, the 5-year-old case exhibited the highest particle deposition percentages in the interior turbinate, ranging from 34.24% to 41.9% in simulations 7, 9, and 17. This emphasized the influence of conditions featuring low flow rates, low injection speeds, and low cone angles in the CNPL model, as well as high flow rates, high injection speeds, and low cone angles in the CNPR model, contributing to maximum deposition in the anterior turbinate. Similarly, for the 37-year-old case, the highest deposition percentages in the interior turbinate were observed in simulation 15, 23, and 3, ranging from 69.1% to 74.9%. This highlights the impact of flow rates of 8, 15, and 13 combined with low injection speeds and low cone angles in the ANPL and ANPR models, contributing to maximum deposition in the interior turbinate. The simulation considered particle tracking within the diameter range of 1 to 200 micrometers, segmented into classes 1 to 10. Illustrated plots present the distribution of particles across these classes, showcasing the highest deposition in the anterior turbinate for both the 5-year-old and adult cases. Consistent with the prior studies, particles in the range of 20 to 50 micrometer exhibited the highest deposition percentage in the anterior turbinate, while particles escaping the upper respiratory area and entering the nasopharynx and lower respiratory tract were characterized by dimension between 1 and 20 micrometer. It's evident from our study that age-specific considerations are absolutely vital in this context. The differences we observed in breathing resistance between adults and children highlight the unique physiological characteristics of each age group. These distinctions necessitate a thoughtful approach in drug development to optimize the safety and efficacy of intranasal drug delivery. It's imperative to tailor formulations for pediatric populations. One size does not fit all when it comes to drug development, especially considering the variations in nasal anatomy we have uncovered. Pediatric patients pose unique challenges in drug delivery. Smaller nasal cavities, differences in mucosal characteristic, and variations in blood flow all impact absorption and effectiveness of intranasally administered drugs. From a clinical perspective, understanding these age-related nuances becomes critical. Clinicians and pharmaceutical developers must collaborate to design formulations that accommodate the anatomical and physiological characteristics of diverse age groups. This emphasizes the need for collaboration between clinician researchers and pharmaceutical developers. Working together, we can bridge the gap in the knowledge and ensure that intranasal drug delivery is optimized for patients of all ages. In conclusion, our findings emphasize the need for a nuanced approach in drug development. Age-specific considerations and tailored formulations are not just preferences, but necessitates for ensure the success of intranasal drug delivery across diverse populations. Thanks for your attention, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. That was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
My name is Anastasia. I'm from Kazakhstan, Almaty. Thank you for opportunity. I want to present my study of new synthesized piperazine-containing compounds for the stimulate glycopoiesis. At first, according to World Health Organization forecast in the 21st century, secondary immunodeficiency diseases will take the first place in prevalence. And according to statistics from the European Academy of Allergology and Clinical Immunology, secondary immunodeficiency diseases are the primary cause of oncological diseases and an increase in mortality among the child and working age adult population of the planet. But at first, let's understand what does mean secondary immunodeficiency states. These are disorders of the immune system that develop in the late period in children or adults and are not the result of genetic defects. Then, main causes of secondary insufficiency is stress syndrome, chronic diseases, environmental factors, infections like HIV and AIDS, but I want to focus more on chemotherapy, especially side effects of chemotherapy. Why? Because nowadays, new cancer cases worldwide are caused by infections, at least 10%, and 85% occur in developing countries. Why it happens? Because cytotoxic chemotherapy can produce severe and sometimes long-term neutropenia, which may require hospitalization and can lead to fatal infection. Also, I think that cancer patients are vulnerable to infections. That's why it's more important to find more new drugs. Here you can see the trend analysis of cancer patients who died because of infection diseases. As the number of immune dependent diseases grows, the search of new synthesized drugs that will use in immunotherapy don't its relevance. And because secondary insufficiency of the immune system is the cause of a decrease in the effectiveness of pharmacotherapy, chemotherapy, and also contributes to the activation of opportunistic microflora, the change of the pathogen, and to superinfection. At this moment, we use three types of immunostimulators, exogenous, endogenous, and synthetic. Exogenous is microbial or plant origin, endogenous cytokines and immunoregulatory peptides, and of course synthetic. I'm focusing on synthetic immunostimulators. Why? Because they give us good results in clinical treatment. In Kazakhstan, we are working on discovery of new synthesized compounds that will stimulate the immune system because the creation of modern stimulating drugs is carried out by genetic engineering and immunobiotechnological methods. If I will say about my research, at first stage, we needed to make myelosuppression. So we had healthy white laboratory rats, females, 10-15 weeks of age. Then for determination of myelostimulating activity, using cytostatic, like chemotherapy, to make myelosuppression. Then again, the background, we used experimental new compounds. And about results, we had 4 compounds, as you can see on the diagram, BAV 140, 141, 142, and 143. The first compound, BAV 143, showed high leukoplasia stimulating activity and exceeded the reference drug levonisole in activity. Compound BAV 133 also gives us good results of activity of erythrocyte cells. The total erythrocyte index recovered to the value of the intact animals and control group, which we can call levonisole group. And the last one, the absolute value of neutrophils in the BAV 133 compound injection group exceeded the control group by 183 times. The absolute lymphocytic index exceeding the value of the placebo group by 4.1 times and control group by 1.4 times. About conclusions, a new chemical series of compounds is promising for the search for new effective immunostimulating drugs. The novelty of my study lies in the use of newly synthesized compounds, and as the number of immune-dependent diseases grows, the search for new synthesized drugs that will use in immunotherapy don't lose its relevance. Thank you for your attention.